Hi everyone, welcome back to my green closet. So it's time for another monthly green favorites video, but I think since it's a new year, I'm feeling like changing up the format of these a bit. So for this first video, I'm going to share 5 fashion industry documentaries that I recommend watching. So the first one is River Blue, which is a documentary that focuses on water pollution, specifically from the fashion industry. And this documentary I actually helped crowdfund quite a while ago, and I'm super excited it's finally out and available to the public. And it is really devastating to watch the impact that fashion and clothing production is having on our water and fresh water around the world. Water is our most valuable resource. We need it to live. And this documentary specifically looks at the leather industry and also denim and how much toxic pollution comes from these industries and is dumped directly into rivers and streams. It has huge health impacts for the people working in the factories, as well as the communities that live near the rivers and use the water for irrigation. This also, of course, is a huge environmental issue because there's toxins just being dumped right into water sources. It's affecting wildlife, it's affecting fish and aquatic life. Some of these rivers, they say, are biologically dead because nothing can survive in them. So this is a really important fashion industry environmental documentary. I highly recommend watching it, and I will link to all of these documentaries down below. The next documentary I want to talk about is Udita, or Arise, which is a documentary about women garment workers in Bangladesh. This is available for free to watch on YouTube, and this is about the ethics behind production, about unionizing. It follows various women and their stories. One of the women they follow is a garment worker, but also works in a union, and she works to help garment workers, and specifically female garment workers, understand their rights and fight for fair pay. They also tell the story of a woman who lost both of her daughters and her son-in-law in the Rana Plaza factory collapse, and she talks about just what life is like now. She's raising her grandchildren and how she still hasn't received compensation from these brands, and basically how devastating and difficult this horrific situation has been. They also show how the garment workers are protesting and fighting for a wage increase of just about $50 a month, which if you think about how many clothes they produce, that would be pennies to an end consumer. This is a video that should definitely have more views. I think it tells really important stories and gives you a look into what life is like for a garment worker in Bangladesh. The next documentary is UNRAVEL, and this is a much lighter one than the other ones I've talked about, and it's only 15 minutes long and is available to watch for free. So this documentary is about a textile recycling facility in India and what happens to our old clothes, but the takeaway from this documentary is actually really about how people working in this facility see clothing consumption in Western countries. The women talk about how there must be a shortage of water because people are only wearing their clothes a few times, and therefore water must be so expensive that it's cheaper to buy new clothes, wear them, and throw them away than it is to pay to wash them. I think this documentary offers a really interesting perspective, and they follow one woman who is so positive and joking and always smiling and seems so lovely. And it's just really interesting to see things from her point of view and to see this kind of end-of-life process and what's happening to these textiles. And these textiles are actually getting recycled, which is amazing because a lot of it just gets thrown away. But yeah, I really recommend watching this. I think it's a really interesting little video. And the next video I want to talk about is also a shorter one. It's only about 12 minutes, I think, and it's called From Sex Worker to Seamstress, and this is a Vice News piece. I think I have mentioned it before on the channel, but I think this is really important to see. It looks at how women in Cambodia are being rescued from prostitution and forced to work in garment factories. They're basically given the choice of going to prison or working in a factory. And the conditions in the factories are so horrible. And this piece highlights how there is this terrible cycle of forced labor in the fashion industry and connection to the sex industry. And the final documentary is The True Cost, which you've probably heard of. Maybe if you're on this channel, you've already seen it. But if you haven't seen it, I really recommend watching this. I think this documentary gives a good overview of all kinds of different issues in the fashion industry, from ethical issues to environmental issues, and gives you a bit of a snapshot of how complex this is and how many problems there are in the fashion supply chain. If you are going to watch just one of these, I would recommend The True Cost because it does give you a more comprehensive comprehensive look at the fashion industry. And this is the documentary I usually recommend people start with because it gives you kind of a taste of it. Documentaries like River Blue, of course, go much more into an issue like water pollution and dyes and what's happening with that, whereas the True Cost kind of touches on a lot of these different things. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to hear in the comments if you've seen any of these documentaries, or if there maybe was a documentary that really opened your eyes and changed your opinion of the fashion industry or made you a lot more aware of these issues. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much to those of you supporting me on Patreon, and I'll see you in the next one.